Kicking things off at number 10, we have Ryan Gosling. Did you know Ryan was a Disney star? Cause I didn't. That's right, back in the 90s, Gosling was part of the Mickey Mouse Club alongside Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, and Britney Spears. A totally star-studded lineup, but they didn't know that yet. Yep, Gosling got his start on the Disney Channel, but didn't stick around for too long after joining the crew at the age of 12. In an interview from 2008, Ryan opened up about his 2 years on the Disney Channel. The La La Land actor revealed that producers from the Disney Channel thought that Ryan had a bit of an attitude problem and was a bad influence on the other kids. Now how could you say that about our darling Ryan? I mean, look at the man. He's oozing with sweet, gentle energy. Okay, let me stop before I start drooling. Gosling also went on to say that he was apparently considered to be such a menace to the other kids that the mothers of his co-stars went to the execs to complain about his behavior. The studio then ruled that Ryan wasn't Disney material because of his behavior and was soon let go. Obviously this little hiccup didn't stunt his career in the slightest, but it still would have been interesting to see him in more Disney projects. Up next at number 9 we have Teo Halm. As a spin-off slash reboot of the classic Disney show Boy Meets World, Girl Meets World started rolling, Disney execs were thinking of their cast list. Originally, Girl Meets World was supposed to focus on Corey and Topanga's daughter Riley, but they were also going to feature her older brother Elliot. Naturally, as anyone would be after being cast for a Disney show, Teo was stoked. This was going to be his big break. Unfortunately for him though, after filming the pilot episode with the whole cast, producers decided that they were going to cut Teo's character from the show. They released a statement saying that various creative changes are often made as a project transitions from pilot to series. Although Teo tells fans that there were no hard feelings towards the Disney team, it still got a sting a little. I mean, it seems that every kid's dream is to be on the Disney Channel, and for Teo to have that dream taken away when he was so close, man, that blows. His career hasn't taken much of a hit since being kicked off the Disney show, and I'm sure we will continue to watch his success unfold. But Disney, you lost out on a real one there. At number 8, Adrienne Bailon. Amigas, cheetahs, friends for life. You know who's not friends for life? Adrienne Bailon and Disney. The former cheetah girl who brought so much success to the Disney franchise was booted from the company after a photo leak back in 2008. The Cheetah Girls franchise was going so well, and Adrienne just had to mess things up with her titties. No, but really, back in 2008, either her or her boyfriend's computer got hacked and her nudes were leaked all over the internet. Obviously, this wasn't good for her image, and it definitely was not good for Disney's either. Nudes are not brand friendly. Disney then quickly decided to cut ties with the actress, but Adrienne didn't seem to mind all that much. A lot of people believe that this so-called hack was a publicity stunt that Adrienne organized in order to be released from her contract and move on to other projects. This is understandable since she was 25 at the time. My guess is that she wanted to move on to more grown-up things, but I mean, if this didn't happen, then maybe we could have had a 4th Cheetah Girls movie, and that would have made my heart really happy. In at number 7, Lalaine. Best known for her role as Miranda from Lizzie McGuire, Lalaine was a fan favorite of many, including me. She was part of the Disney show's cast from the beginning, and she held a crucial role making up the trio of besties on the show. But mysteriously, Lalaine went MIA from the last few episodes of the series, as well as from the Lizzie McGuire movie that capped off the hit Disney show. The only explanation we as the audience were given for her mysterious disappearance was that Miranda went on vacation to Mexico during the events of the Lizzie McGuire movie. Her abrupt absence from the show was never explained further, and fans have been left wondering what actually happened to the actress. Obviously something big had to have gone down behind the scenes for her just to be wiped off the face of the Disney empire like that. Most fans believe that Lalaine had gotten herself into trouble. In a recent interview with the Lizzie McGuire cast, Lalaine mentioned that as a kid she went through a period of time that she called the dark days. The actress highlighted how she went nuts and stupid and just being angry and acting like she was so badass. I'm thinking that these so-called dark days were just the unfortunate combination of being a kid and growing up in the media. We've seen so many former child stars crash and burn because of their time in the spotlight, so this is probably the case. Disney just didn't want to have a kid burn out on camera like that. With the uncertainty of the Lizzie McGuire reboot up in the air, I certainly hope that we get to see the return of Miranda. Coming into number 6, we have Chloe Grace Moretz. Remember the 2008 Disney film Bolt? The one about the dog who wants to be a superhero? Well, did you know that the actress Chloe Grace Moretz was actually supposed to be the voice of Penny? Yep, that's right. Disney had cast Chloe to play the voice of Bolt's owner Penny, but was let go from the project and the role was given to Miley Cyrus instead. Chloe had actually recorded the whole movie when they decided, actually no, we want Miley instead. I mean, come on Disney. The girl spends all her time voicing the entire movie and you just decided to let her go? That's just mean. Producers still credited Chloe in the movie as the voice of young Penny, but still, that's gotta hurt. Just like our boy Tio, being kicked from the project at the last minute has gotta be one of the worst feelings ever. Luckily, being recast didn't hurt her career one bit. She's still one of the most sought after actresses in the industry and continues to find work outside of Disney. Halfway through at number 5, Jake T. Austin. Former Wizards of Waverly Place actor Jake T. Austin saw a lot of success when working on the Disney Channel. After finding fame alongside Selena Gomez and David Henry, Jake went on to pursue another role on the ABC family show The Fosters. ABC Family, a subsidiary of the Disney Empire, basically has the same sort of standards for their actors. They all have to keep their noses clean and stay family friendly, and as long as they follow the rules, they can have a career. They honestly sound a little culty, but I digress. Jake jumped into the new hit series playing the role of Jesus and saw a lot of success. But then, just out of freaking nowhere, Jake goes AWOL and gets into some trouble. In 2013, Jake was arrested and charged with a DUI. Jake, who was 18 at the time, was able to handle things pretty discreetly and not much news broke of it. Fast forward to 2014, and Jake lands himself back into some more trouble, this time being involved in a pretty serious crash. Now get this, Jake had allegedly driven into 3 parked cars, then threw a bottle of Ciroc out of the window and Ubered away from the crash. Talk about chaotic. First of all, how do you hit 3 parked cars at once? Like, I don't understand how that would work. Secondly, he just threw a bottle of premium grade vodka out the window. Probably to prevent himself from getting another DUI, but still, that ish is pretty pricey nonetheless. And number 3, who just Ubers away from a crash like that? You just got yourself a witness, my guy. You're not very good at committing crimes. Now obviously this kind of behavior upset the head honchos at Disney, and his Foster's character was recast to Hollywood's newest heartthrob, Noah Centineo. Jake, you done effed up on that one. In at number 4, Mitchell Musso. Oh Oliver, how you done goofed. Former Disney Channel actor Mitchell Musso, best known for his role as Oliver Oaken in Hannah Montana, saw his career crash and burn in 2011. Just shortly after the end of Hannah Montana, Mitchell, who was just 20 years old at the time, was charged with a DUI when he was pulled over by an officer after failing to comply with police-directed traffic. Musso was in deep trouble with this one, because not only was his blood alcohol level way above the legal limit, he was also not supposed to be drinking alcohol in the first place, since in the US the legal drinking age is 21, and he had not quite reached that age at the time of the incident. Now, in true Mickey Mouse fashion, Mitchell was shunned from Disney because of this. He was kicked off his upcoming Disney project Pair of Kings, and they even refused to acknowledge his part in it. He was well and truly shunned from the company. He had also been part of the cast of Phineas and Ferb, and was obviously banished from that project as well, but at least they gave him some credit. Following his DUI charge, his legal battle began, but luckily for Musso, he wasn't given jail time. Instead, he was served with 36 months probation, forced to take an alcohol education class, and he had to pay a fine. Since then, his career has never been the same, and he was never able to pick up the same success that he once had on the Disney Channel, but I guess that's just the universe's way of punishing him. In at number 2, Jake Paul. We all know YouTuber Jake Paul for his YouTube antics, but back in 2017, it was those very antics that got him fired from his role on the Disney Channel show Bizaardvark. With all the shenanigans Jake and his Team 10 housemates got into, Jake's neighbors were not thrilled with having them there. There had reportedly been so many house calls and complaints against Jake and the Team 10 house that it started to get media attention. And you know Disney, if it's not good news for them, it's bad news for you. The YouTuber's bad press was not good for Disney's image, so some tough decisions had to be made. The execs at Disney came to the decision to let Jake go, and supposedly the decision was mutual with Jake's team. I kinda don't buy that. I can't really believe that Jake made the decision to leave Disney, since being on the show was his dream and the whole reason he moved to California in the first place. I know that he was getting a lot of success on his own from YouTube, but being fired from Disney probably wasn't part of Jake's plan. He said that he and his team had made the decision to leave, but I think what really happened is that he just didn't want to seem upset about it and let it go. I mean, he took the L and moved on. Things for Jake have been pretty okay since then, although he's already a divorcee, but I guess that's just how Jake rolls. And in the number 1 spot, we have Bella Thorne. Miss Bella Thorne, known best for her time on Disney's Shake It Up, really shook things up for Disney after a few years under the mouse's iron fist. Ever since moving on from the entertainment empire, Bella has been very vocal about her time working on Disney and why she was let go. As it goes for a lot of Disney stars, their contracts limit their freedom as individuals. They're asked to stay pretty PG and kid-friendly as they work there, but for some stars who grow up on the platform, this rule tends to be pretty restricting. As Bella grew up on TV, she wanted to express herself more and just really be herself, but obviously Disney doesn't like that. Really, the thing that started to anger Disney and push them to let Bella go were her clothing choices. Whenever Bella would dress up in a crop top or be seen out in a bikini, some execs were not happy because it wasn't brand friendly enough. All Bella wanted to do was wear what she felt made her happy, but apparently this was against the contract. If this sort of thing happened to me, I'd probably react in the same way Bella did and just keep on doing it. No one really has much right to tell you what you can and cannot wear, and it's not really fair to have those sort of rules in place. So Bella kept on pushing until they were fed up with with her and they let her go. Now Bella is free to do whatever she wants, like direct adult films and start an OnlyFans. She's her own boss now and she's killing the game.
In at number 10, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne played Ruthie Spivey in the television series My Own Worst Enemy back in 2008 and Tansy Hendrickson in the 4th season of Big Love in 2010. However, she began gaining prominence for her role as Cece Jones in the Disney Channel series Shake It Up, which she was a part of from 2010 to 2013. Although Bella admits herself that she never wanted to be a Disney star. During an episode of the MTV podcast Happy, Sad, Confused, Thorne admitted that she didn't want to audition even, but she felt she needed to because her family was close to homelessness. While that may seem like a very nice thing for her to do, she maintained this attitude of not wanting to be there. She would repeatedly tell the director that she doesn't know why she's there, and people would just laugh about it, thinking that she was just joking around, I guess. In reality, she hated being there the whole time. Makes it very difficult to work with if someone doesn't like what they're doing. In at number 9, Orlando Brown. While at the 2018 Radio Disney Music Awards, Raven-Symoné was asked about Orlando Brown's new tattoo, which just so happened to be, well, Raven's face. Here's what she had to say.
Yeah, what do you make of that? I make of the 2nd season of That's So Raven will be coming out July 25th. Bye!
Looks like they haven't really been keeping in touch following their time with Disney. Orlando was a child actor on many sitcoms, but is best known for his role as Eddie Thomas on That's So Raven. However, it became evident how difficult he is to work with when Disney reprised the show under its new name, Raven's Home. While her and Annalise Vanderpool came back, Orlando was noticeably missing from the reunion. The main reason why they couldn't have him back is due to his non-Disney-like behavior. Brown made headlines after he was arrested for public intoxication and disturbing the peace after he threatened to kill a woman. Not exactly the best person to be working with after that. In at number 8, Lalaine Vergara. Lalaine is best known for her role as Miranda Sanchez on Lizzie McGuire, and after she tried to pursue a music career, she sort of fell into obscurity. She had filmed with the show from 2001 to 2004, but by 2007, people started to find out who she really is. In July of 2007, Lalaine was arrested and charged with felony possession of methamphetamines. She pleaded guilty to the charge, and a $50,000 bench warrant was set after she failed to appear in court for her hearings. And according to Lalaine, she had some serious beef with her fellow actors as she was the only one deemed to be too ethnic. They actually told her to look as white as possible, which undoubtedly caused some tension between her and everyone else on the show. When a Lizzie McGuire reboot was in the works, they confirmed every character returning, but Lalaine was left out of the conversation. In at number 7, Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato had been a Disney kid for a long time. She appeared on Barney and Friends from 2002 to 2004. However, between 2007 to 2008, Lovato played Charlotte Adams on the Disney Channel short series As the Bell Rings. She then auditioned for the channel's television film Camp Rock and new TV series Sunny with a Chance, for which she landed both roles. Now, to Demi's defense, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and struggled a lot with finding body confidence. So needless to say, she could be a bit of a nightmare on set, but it was primarily due to the pressures of maintaining this presence while on top after all of this early success with Disney. During an interview with Refinery 29, Demi said, "Prior to getting sober, I was one of those people who was like, I don't give a whatever. And I used that as an excuse to do whatever I wanted. I was a nightmare to work with." Well, at least she admits it herself. In at number 5, Shia LaBeouf. Most people will recognize Shia LaBeouf from his time with the Transformers franchise, but I'll always know him as just Louis Stevens in the Disney Channel series Even Stevens, a role for which he received a Young Artist Award nomination in 2001 and won a Daytime Emmy Award in 2003. Although Shia LaBeouf's career would soon take a tumultuous turn. In 2017 alone, the actor was sued for $5 million by a bartender. He was arrested in Savannah, Georgia for public intoxication, and he was ordered to attend a 10-week rehab program. Although Shia has done his best to shed all these rumors surrounding him about being difficult to work with. I mean, while working on the set of Fury, he received a ton of praise from his fellow actors. Brad Pitt even paid him a huge compliment during his interview with GQ magazine. Brad told the magazine, "Oh, I love this boy. He's one of the best actors I've ever seen. He's full-on commitment, man. He's living it like no one else. Let me tell you, I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of great actors, and he's one of the best I've ever seen." I wish I could have done that in a Brad Pitt voice. We'll get there. In at number 4, Jake T. Austin. Beginning his career as a child actor at the age of 7, Austin is a 5-time Young Artist Award nominee, 2-time Teen Choice Award nominee, and Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award nominee. He's best known though for his role as Max Russo on the Disney Channel series Wizards of Waverly Place. Dick attributes a lot of his bad behavior to the tough transition of moving from child actor to an evolved adult star. While at the Teen Choice Awards, apparently Austin threw a giant temper tantrum backstage after a staff member didn't recognize him. According to TMZ and multiple eyewitness accounts, he became infuriated by this and started throwing empty shoeboxes at a female staff member. But then he said this next year.
This has been the summer of kick-ass women.
In at number 3, Ashley Tisdale. During her childhood, Tisdale was featured in over 100 advertisements and had minor roles in television and theater. She also achieved mainstream success as Maddie Fitzpatrick in the Disney Channel series The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Her success was heightened even further when she starred as Sharpay Evans in the High School Musical film series from 2006 to 2008. Tisdale even admitted herself that she was very difficult to work with during her time on High School Musical. During a chat with Andy Cohen, she said that her and Lucas, who played her on-screen brother, didn't get along at first. She told the host that they didn't get along at first because when they were screen testing, she was only giving him just like regular line readings, so not really being in the character. Then when he asked her to, method act to get themselves into character, she noticed that her attitude was creeping a little too closely to that of her character Sharpay. She went on to say, "I do think I became a lot like the character, and I think he thought I was really like Sharpay, and it wasn't until we rapped that he was like, oh, you're not that person." Or is she? In at number 2, Jake Paul. Jake is far from his Disney acting days now, but according to reports, he wasn't the easiest person to work with. Aside from Vine, he really rose to prominence for playing the role of Dork Man on the Disney Channel series Bizaardvark. Although Jake was unceremoniously dropped from the show before the start of the second season, and his exit was listed as effective immediately. Paul had been making local headlines in Los Angeles after complaints that he had been getting from his neighbors over alleged partying and pranks at his West Hollywood rental house. He was then featured in a KTLA news report after he started climbing up on her news van during a live broadcast. A spokesperson from the Disney Channel refused to comment as to why they dropped him, but explained that it was a mutual departure and that they wished him all the best. Probably had a lot to do with those news segments. I'm gonna go with the news segments. Last but certainly not least, in our number 1 spot, Miley Cyrus. Arguably one of the most successful child stars of her generation, Miley has had a rise and fall like nobody else. She became a teen idol as the title character of the Disney Channel television series Hannah Montana, which ultimately led to her becoming a very successful recording artist as well. Although all of that fame and being the daughter of a rock star aren't necessarily great for one's ego. She started to perform as both Hannah Montana and herself, which really did a number on her psyche and led to her becoming sort of a double diva. In her book titled Miles to Go, Miley reflected on her time working with co-star Emily Osment on the show and said that when the cameras stopped rolling, they didn't really get along. Miley writes, "The show felt real to me and I wanted my relationship with Lily to feel real too. I knew it didn't have to, show business is the show business, but I was disappointed. There were times when I didn't think we could ever be friends. We just couldn't figure out how to get along." Probably because you're a diva. Just guessing.
Starting off our countdown is Miley Cyrus. She has talked about her Disney experience on more than one occasion, revealing the struggles she faced after taking on the epic role of Hannah Montana. Throughout her career, Miley has shared that she struggled with an as a young girl and that she felt wearing makeup and a wig every day was the definition of what it meant to be a pop star. It was difficult for her to really find herself as Miley because the world knew her as Hannah Montana. Her mom is still her manager to this day, and she also admitted that Disney was not always the best to work for. She said she started understanding how many people were taking advantage of her young daughter and revealed that Miley was grossly, her quote, underpaid. It even came to light that Miley didn't even own her name during that time. Since her character outside of Hannah Montana was actually Miley Stewart on the show, they actually had rights to her name, Miley. Many reasons led up to her decision to quit in 2010, and even though she had a tough experience as a kid, she recently said she would totally do a reboot. So, but maybe now it's different because she's an adult. She can handle the Disney Network. Coming up next, number 9 is Joe Jonas. He was just one of the brothers from the boy band The Jonas Brothers, but he took on the lead role in the Disney movies Camp Rock. In recent years, Joe wrote a piece for Vulture which highlighted his time at Disney. In the piece, he revealed that he and his brothers always had to sugarcoat their music and lives to maintain their innocent Disney persona. He said their lyrics actually had to be reviewed and approved by the Disney team, and if anything was too sexual or provoking, then they were told to change it. That was actually one of the main reasons that they decided to quit. He also said that Disney controlled their creativity too much and he started to feel like one of their puppets. For any young child star wanting a music career outside of Disney, this would have been a good warning for them. Outside of the personality image that they had to maintain, he also hated the fact that he had to shave every single day to play a role that was much younger than he was in real life. That would suck as a man. Moving on to number 8, we have Hilary Duff. there have been a lot of conflicting stories about what exactly led to her decision to leave Disney and her lead role as Lizzie McGuire. But fans got some kind of confirmation back in 2003 when her mom did an interview with Entertainment Weekly and claimed it had to do with her paycheck. Susan Duff claimed that Disney was trying to bully her daughter into accepting whatever offer they wanted to make for a sequel to the Lizzie McGuire movie. Her mom said that Hillary ended up walking away from the sequel, but then Disney walked away from the whole franchise. Hillary also spoke about it and said that it really had an effect on her mental health, which is why she chose to bow out for a while. She said, "I was just making records and touring and making movies and then doing it all over again. By the end of it, I was like, I'm done. I don't enjoy this anymore. I'm not who I want to be." So I guess Disney is not paying their stars enough is what I am starting to realize. Sliding into spot number 7 is Selena Gomez. The Wizards of Waverly Place star left her Disney days behind and had no problem explaining to her fans why. It was a pretty simple explanation and was the classic case of feeling the pressure to live up to that innocent Disney image. She told the New York Times, "I was being held to this expectation of being the good girl. I knew deep down that this wasn't what I wanted to do, being exhausted of forcing something that wasn't right." According to Refinery29, she decided to break away from Disney and actually signed a new contract with Interscope instead. At that point, she allegedly let go of her mother acting as her manager and also had split up with her then boyfriend, Justin Bieber. This was a very big moment in her career, and that is when she released her album, Revival. Once the album was out, she admitted it was the first time that she could breathe and no longer felt like she had to maintain the Disney guidelines. No one really realized just how bad her time with Disney was, and fans were shocked to hear her admit that it actually made her depressed and put her in a really low spot in her life. Rolling into number 6 is Dylan and Cole Sprouse. The twins took over the Disney Channel with their hit show The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and then The Sweet Life on Deck. From the outside looking in, it seemed like they had the world in their hands. But they suddenly left the Disney network behind and fans were shocked to learn their show would not continue. The boys have opened up about what happened and said they tried to pitch a spin-off idea to the Disney team, but they shut it down. Dylan explained and said, "When we had pitched our idea, it was kind of the situation where they had almost laughed in our faces." He then said Disney came back to them a year later with an idea that was essentially the same thing as their original pitch. That is when he said he and his brother Cole basically laughed in their face and walked out. That was the last meeting they ever had with Disney, and despite having years-long relationship with them, things ended up leaving on a very icy note. They have no problem warning others that Disney might steal your ideas, so keep them to yourself. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Rowan Blanchard. She gained a massive fan base from her time on the newer Disney show Girl Meets World. Fans were crushed when the series was canceled after their ratings dropped. Forbes reported that the show lost around 3.6 million viewers between season 1 and season 3. But the one thing that people always loved was Rowan and the fact that she prompted the idea of intersectional feminism. Despite her young age, she rallied for the Me Too movement and openly discussed her sexuality. She made a conscious decision back in 2017 to part ways with Disney following the cancellation of the show. She did an interview with W Magazine and said she left because she felt controlled by them. But she didn't exactly say the name Disney Network, probably to protect herself, but people could piece it together. She said, "I worked for a corporation for 4 years that is known for silencing and crafting your voice. So with that, I just had to very much stand my ground and separate myself, which I think I did." She now says that she loves that she's not recognized anymore for her Disney character, but she's now recognized for her activism. In spot number 4 is Raven-Symoné. Fans were devastated when Raven left Disney for a while after her TV series That's So Raven became a massive success. But she shocked everyone when she signed on to do a spin-off of the original show called Raven's Home at 33 years old. Fans really didn't believe that she would work with Disney ever again, thinking that there was bad blood between them, but turns out there wasn't. Kind of. She did admit to feeling the pressure of having to try and fit the mold of Raven from the show, and not who she was in real life, which is also Raven. When she came out in 2016, she revealed that Disney was always very accepting of her and her sexuality, but that people involved in the network weren't. She explained that during the last season of That's So Raven, she wore jeans and a vest and tie, and one of the members went up to her mom and said, "She looks too much like a lesbian. Can you tell her to put on a skirt and makeup? Because then they'll accept her and come to her concert." As we know from other examples on this list, fitting the Disney look can add a lot of pressure to someone, especially someone who felt like they couldn't really express who they really were. Luckily, Disney has been more supportive and inclusive with the LGBTQ community since her original show. Taking over number 3, we have Shia LaBeouf. If you followed his career, you would see that he is definitely one to experiment with new projects and avenues. But there was a route he refused to go down when he was working with Disney on the classic show Even Stevens. He did an interview with MTV and said that he stopped working with Disney because they were very controlling over where his career was headed. Turns out they wanted him to start a music career. When looking at Disney, most of their stars started out with acting and then went into singing as their career grew. Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Hilary Duff, to name a few. Even Raven-Symoné. During his interview with MTV, he said, "I never came out with a music thing, even though Disney will push you that way." He went on to say that he always felt out of place at Disney and never felt like he truly belonged. Can you guys just imagine, like, Shia LaBeouf as a singer? Oh, what a world. In our number 1 spot is Bella Thorne. This story of Bella has become famous ever since she shared it with her fans. She found fame as a young child on the Disney TV series Shake It Up, but it was cancelled in 2013 despite being the number 1 series in 2 demographics. People thought she was going to stay with Disney and move on to her next project, but it seemed like she was fed up with taking orders from them. After leaving the network, Bella revealed that one time they threatened to fire her after she posted a photo of herself wearing a black bikini. They ended up telling her mom that they cannot afford to fire her at that point, but if she does anything like that again, they will. The worst part about the whole thing was that Bella's mom was the one who bought her that bikini. Once this story came to surface, Bella opened up more about her Disney experience and said she was forced to talk with a higher voice so that she would appeal to Disney's demographic. Even off the show, like during interviews and press, she was asked to change her tone. For anyone who does not follow Bella, she naturally has a deeper voice. Long story short, Bella stopped tolerating the demands and went on to pursue a very different career. She's now acting full-time, putting out music, and is also running an OnlyFans company. No lie.
At number 10, Vanessa Hudgens. As we are all aware, Disney likes to keep their stars as clean as possible, so when they're caught being a little more adult and risque, that's definitely a problem for the company. This became Vanessa Hudgens' reality in 2007 after some of her private photos got leaked. Vanessa opened up about the scandal years later, saying that this was traumatic for her, having lost her privacy in that moment. It was also a big deal for Disney, who was trying to cover the story up and keep her image intact. Since she was one of the faces of the High School Musical franchise, it was important to the company to make this all go away. Joe Jonas even opened up about this time in Vanessa's life, saying that while he and his brothers were working for Disney at this time, he remembers the day that the scandal broke and how the executives had Vanessa in their office for the whole day trying to deal with that mess. Joe even said that the other executives approached him and his brothers and praised them for not having a scandal like this. This put a lot of pressure on the Jonas brothers to always stay perfect in the eyes of the company, so just knowing how much pressure they had on themselves after that, it must have been so much worse for Vanessa. She apologized to her young fans for the pictures and expressed remorse, and luckily for her, Disney was able to salvage her career after that. At number 9, Jake Paul. Once upon a time in 2017, Jake Paul was a Disney star. I know, shocking. He was one of the stars of the Disney Channel show Bizarre Park, and though the show was a success for both Disney and Jake, too much bad press ended with Jake losing his job. Around this time, Jake was often in the news being slammed for his stunts and tomfoolery because of his Team 10 mates and the disturbances that he had been causing. From lighting backyards on fire to noise complaints, Jake's neighbors had police issuing warnings and fines for all sorts of things, and whenever Jake would get in trouble, the media reported it, and it all got back to Disney. They had apparently been monitoring the situation, but things kept getting out of hand online with Jake's YouTube channel, as he was seen doing things that weren't necessarily brand friendly. Ultimately, Jake and the executives at Disney came to the decision to take Jake out of the equation, and they ended up letting him go in the end. It was a number of scandals that really did Jake in, but it was still serious enough for him to get fired. If you guys are enjoying the video so far, why not consider leaving a like to show your support? At number 8, Mitchell Musso. Hannah Montana star Mitchell Musso was having a lot of success at Disney. He had been a series regular on the hit show and even branched off to work on Phineas and Ferb and Pair of Kings, but as we all know, when you get in trouble, you get the axe from the mouse. In 2011, Mitchell Musa was arrested and charged with DUI after failing to stop for an officer directing traffic. He pleaded no contest to the charge, and he was sentenced to 36-month probation, was forced to complete alcohol education classes, and was forced to pay a fine as well. After being charged, Disney made steps toward distancing themselves from Musso. He was taken off the show Pair of Kings, and his prank show was cancelled, and his career was essentially ruined because of it. He had a good run with Disney, but bad press just was too much to cover up, and it blew up in their faces. At number 7, Miley Cyrus. In 2008, Disney was hit with a huge scandal that nearly ruined one of their biggest shows at the time. Hannah Montana was a hit, and nothing seemed to be derailing the show's success, at least until a photo shoot with Vanity Fair became a serious issue for executives. Miley Cyrus posed on the cover of Vanity Fair in a way that was deemed inappropriate by Disney standards, since the star was seen posing wearing nothing but a bed sheet covering her chest and having an exposed back. Though nothing was really shown, and the then 15-year-old Miley said that she loved the shoot and thought it was very creative, the Disney exec had a meltdown because it wasn't the image that they wanted for her and that it could have ruined Hannah Montana. When the photo was published, parents got concerned because Hannah Montana seemed to be a role model for a lot of kids, and parents didn't want these photos influencing their children. Disney actually accused Vanity Fair of deliberately manipulating Miley and trying to sabotage Disney. The president of Disney Channel Worldwide even saw this as such a huge issue that when speaking about Miley's public image, he said, quote, "For Miley Cyrus to be a good girl is now a business decision for her. Parents have invested in her godliness. If she violates that trust, she won't get it back," end quote. Disney was so invested in her image that it hurt Miley in the long run, as she said over the years. And at number 6, Dog with a Blog. I'm not sure how many of you may be familiar with the show Dog with a Blog, but for those who may be unfamiliar with the show, the title says it all. It was a Disney Channel show about a family dog who wrote a blog. But what the title didn't say is how much it took to get that show off the ground and the scandal that broke around it. Even though I wouldn't say this show was top tier, because from the few episodes that I've seen, it really isn't. There is a scandal around this show that is frankly bigger and more dramatic than the show could ever be. Apparently, there was a scandal surrounding the dog who actually starred in the show. When the role was first cast, the part went to a performing dog named Kuma. Kuma was in all of the promotional material, the photos, and the first 5 episodes of the show. He was the best fit for the role because of his experience, but all of a sudden, he was fired. No, he didn't bite anyone, and he didn't have any accident on set. It was because of the drama with his owner over fears that Kuma was being overworked. Kuma's owner said that he'd been overworked on set, having to be on for 12 to 14 hours a day. The stress of working affected Kuma so much that he suffered a seizure on the 3rd day of filming. The owner also said that they were being underpaid for their work, and so she told execs that she would need to pull Kuma from the show for his safety, or at least until there were new guidelines in place for his protection. Instead, the company that hired Kuma sent them a termination letter, and Kuma was replaced. Disney didn't want to adjust things for their animal's safety, and so they just got rid of him and replaced him with another performer who wouldn't complain. At number 5, Jake T. Austin. Jake T. Austin was still in Disney's good books up until 2013 when he got in some legal trouble. The former star of Wizards of Waverly Place had just moved over to one of Disney's other networks, Freeform, starring in the show The Fosters. Even though he was moving on to more mature roles, it was still recommended that he stay out of bad press. Clearly, he didn't do that because he's on this list. In 2013, Jake started having some trouble with the law as he was caught driving under the influence on a few occasions. In one incident, he crashed his car into a parked car while under the influence, and another instance saw him get involved in a hit-and-run car crash. Though there were no injuries, Jake still faced bad press for his trouble with the law and being in possession of alcohol. At number 4, Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato was quickly becoming another big Disney star after the success of Camp Rock and Sunny with a Chance, but in 2010 there came a scandal that was seemingly the beginning of the end for her Disney career. News broke of an incident between Demi and one of her dancers that changed her image and saw execs scrambling to bury this story. The incident happened while Demi was on tour with the Jonas Brothers, and as Demi was boarding their flight, she was aggravated after having gotten in trouble with her manager for her behavior the night before. Demi assumed that one of her dancers had tattletailed on her, and so she found one of the dancers that she held responsible and had a brief altercation with her. Demi went to her seat and left everyone else on the flight in shock. Demi left the dancer with a black eye, but she was about to face much worse as news broke of this outburst. Demi ended up leaving the tour to recover from emotional and physical distress, but not too long afterwards, Disney was done with the star, leaving Camp Rock and Sunny with a Chance up in the air. At number 3, Hilary Duff. It was a feud to end all Disney feuds. There's nothing worse than 2 teen girls fighting over a boy because you know how messy that can get. This is what happened between Hilary Duff and Lindsay Lohan during their years-long feud over Aaron Carter. Their feud first started in 2001 when Aaron Carter was on the set of Lizzie McGuire. The two met and hit it off and they started dating for a bit. Little did Hilary know for a while, but Aaron was also dating Lindsay Lohan at the same time. They both had a relationship with Aaron for a little over a year, and after they both ended things with him, they both could have just gone their separate ways, but oh no, of course not. Instead, they had a public feud which consisted of both girls crashing each other's film premieres and talking about each other in the media. They antagonized each other for years before deciding that they're too old for their squabbles. Though this wasn't a huge controversial scandal, it was still a big thing for a while to see two Disney darlings at each other's throats like that. They were low-key shady, and all because of a boy. I mean, he cheated on you with each other. Definitely not someone worth fighting over. At number 2, Bella Thorne. Looking at Bella Thorne now, you see her as someone who is often in the news for something negative. Recently, she's been criticized for her diss of her ex-girlfriend Tana Mongeau in her newest song, and last summer she also faced backlash for her OnlyFans scam. But in the past, back in her Disney days, things were different. She was sheltered and marketed as an innocent kid with a lot of talent. As she grew up, Bella told sources about how Disney made her conform to their standards, even though all she wanted to do was branch out and be herself. One of her attempts of being herself caused a scandal after Bella was photographed wearing a specific bathing suit when she was a teenager that wasn't deemed brand friendly by Disney. According to Bella, this scandal nearly cost her her job and her family's livelihood, and she said that any other scandals after that would have caused her to get fired. She was forced to be someone else for the duration of her time at Disney, and that scandal is a reminder of how seriously they take their stars' public image. And finally at number 1, Adrienne Bailon. The Cheetah Girls films were another set of hit films from the Disney Channel, and obviously the film stars had to conform with the harsh standards that all other Disney stars had to. After making 3 films with the company, one of the film's stars, Adrienne Bailon, was looking to branch out from Disney and step into roles that were more suited for her age. Because she was in her 20s, she wanted to step away from these films, and to do so, she came up with a scheme that would no doubt end her contract. Adrienne ended up leaking her own private photos, causing a stir online and in the media. This bad press was obviously not good for Disney, and so they were forced to let her go. The media picked the scandal apart because of how wild it was, since it started off as a mere leak and turned into a scandal after it was discovered that Adrienne was behind it all, and so after all was said and done, the Cheetah Girls were no more, Adrienne was out. But hey, at least she got what she wanted, right? Silver lining. At number 4, Peggy Lee. Before I get into the current drama that's going on now with Disney, I'd first like to tell you about one actress who first sued Disney because of their contract. It seems as though Disney is already familiar with their stars suing because of their contract, because back in 1987, actress Peggy Lee was blindsided by the media company's release of the film Lady and the Tramp, and a lawsuit ensued. Peggy was one of the people behind the making of the 1955 film. Peggy voiced the character Peg, as well as the Siamese cats Cy and Am. Very creative. On top of that, Peggy also sang and co-wrote a handful of songs in the film, like He's a Tramp and Bella Notte. Peggy also contributed to the storyline of the film, making an effort to keep the film family-friendly and to avoid anything too triggering for younger audiences. Needless to say, Peggy contributed a lot to the film, and for all of her hard work, she was paid $4,500. Lady and the Tramp went on to become Disney's best-selling film, dethroning the other Disney classic Snow White, which had held the title for so many years, and because it was such a success in its heyday, Disney decided to do a wide release of the film on VHS in the late 80s, and this brought the company $90 million in profit. Now this was great news for Disney because they had made so much money, but it was bad news for Peggy because she didn't get any of that. Apparently, Disney was reluctant to share their profits with Peggy, and they only offered her a small fee, so she took matters to court. After taking a look at Peggy's contract, it was found that Disney technically did not have the right to sell copies of Peggy's work, and therefore they were in violation of their contractual agreement with the actress. After a 2-week court battle, it was determined that Peggy deserved a bigger cut from the VHS sales, and so she was awarded $2.3 million. This case is pretty similar to what's going on between Scarlett Johansson and Disney, so it will be interesting to see how things play out here, and maybe history will repeat itself and Disney will have to shell out a hefty amount of money. At number 3, Emma Stone. Now, although this has yet to be confirmed, sources say that actress Emma Stone could be the next one to seek legal action against Disney. Emma was under contract for Disney after starring starring in the movie Cruella, which was released in May of this year. This film's release is really what's causing the problem with Emma, because much like Scarlett Johansson and the Black Widow movie, the theatrical release and premiere access on Disney Plus were on the same day, meaning that audiences were able to choose between going to the theater to watch the movie or stay at home and stream it from the company's platform. As part of her contract, Emma was given royalties from the film's theatrical release, which means that she wasn't given a portion of the money from the streaming platform and therefore was cheated out of a pretty good sum of money. Now, after seeing Scarlett take on Disney in court, there are reports that Emma might be inclined to join in on that lawsuit to fight for wages lost due to this loophole in the contract. Do you guys think that Emma should join in on the fight? Some people have said that she made enough money and doesn't need to fight for more, but others say that it's less about the money and more so about the principle to show that these companies can't do these kinds of things to their contractors. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. At number 2, Emily Blunt. Another star who is reportedly considering taking legal action against Disney is Emily Blunt. Emily's film Jungle Cruise was recently released, and just like Emma Stone and Scarlett Johansson, her film was released in theaters and on the Disney Plus platform at the same time, causing the same problem that the other two actresses are currently facing. The problem that a lot of people have pointed out with the film being released in both theaters and on Disney Plus is that those who choose to watch it from home on the streaming platform are able to pay a premiere access fee and then watch it as many times as they want, whereas in theaters you just pay for your ticket and you only get to see it once. The potential to make more money is there, but Disney hasn't taken it, which is why Emily Blunt is watching her movie's sales more closely with this release, waiting to make her decision on whether or not she will be suing Disney. Emily has already gone through something similar, as she and her husband John Krasinski had already gotten into a debate with Paramount Plus over the release of their film A Quiet Place 2. It is said that because of the pushback that came with the release of their film due to the pandemic, Emily is very much against this hybrid style of film release, and so we shouldn't really be surprised to see a lawsuit come from Emily as well. She and John were already able to push for a 45-day gap between the theatrical release of A Quiet Place 2 and the Paramount Plus release, so who knows what Emily might fight for this time with Disney. And finally, at number 1, Scarlett Johansson. Now finally, let's talk about Scarlett Johansson and the drama that started all of this in the first place. Following the release of Black Widow both in theaters and on Disney Plus, Scarlett and her legal team issued a lawsuit against Disney alleging that they breached her contract because they went through with doing a hybrid release of the newest Marvel film. In her lawsuit, the actress alleged that Disney guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release of the film, saying that her salary was to be largely based on box office earnings. In response to the lawsuit, a spokesperson for Disney released a statement saying that the actress's lawsuit had no merit and called the legal action being brought forward, quote, especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, end quote. They also went on to say, quote, Disney has fully complied with Miss Johansson's contract and furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with premiere access and has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date. At the end of the day, it's not really about the money, but it's the fact that they breached Scarlett's contract. They promised an exclusive theatrical release and then went back on that, and I feel as though this lawsuit is just to turn this action into a lesson for Hollywood. When the film was released on July 9th, it brought in $80 million at the box office and $60 million on Disney Plus, but even though that's a lot of money, it's still the lowest grossing Marvel film to date. It could be because of the pandemic or maybe the hybrid release affected the film's earnings, but I'm sure that at the end of this, the real analytics will be brought forward as Scarlett takes on this huge company in the lawsuit of the year. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on this whole lawsuit thing going on with Scarlett Johansson. Whose side are you on? Do you agree with Disney or Scarlett? And who do you think will end up winning in the end? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments.
Starting us off at number 10 is Zac Efron. Fans were not happy when he did not show up to the High School Musical reunion, and many people wondered why. It appeared that we were not all in this together after all, because he was the only one who did not show up. He says he was filming Dirty Grandpa at the time and couldn't make it, but some of his comments have made fans believe differently. Zac admitted he can't celebrate High School Musical because it's not real. He said, you can't enjoy or celebrate it. It's not a real thing. The face on the lunchbox and you can't share that with your friends. He revealed a lot about his experience with the movie throughout the years and also revealed they removed his recorded voice tracks from the final cut of the movie without even telling him. They replaced his voice with another singer, Drew Seeley, but Zac fought for his voice to be left in the sequel. He said he had to put his foot down and fight to get his real voice in the movies, which is actually really awkward if you ask me. Like, what an awkward position to be in as a teen when you were hired for that role, which required singing. Up next, number 9 is Nick Jonas. He is another Disney OG who has had some things to say about his years spent working with Disney. He has said some positive things, admitting that he has good memories and that it felt like he was going to summer camp sometimes. But with that, he also said there was a lot of drama because people started dating, and then throughout the years they would just go and date other people on Disney, so it got very messy. But that is kind of expected. He also said that Disney makes you put on a persona and that creative control is taken away. He said the network has its faults and also said, I quote, "Disney doesn't create role models, it creates characters." Which is a pretty bold statement because a lot of his fans idolize him for his characters on the TV shows and movies, but that is not really him. So their characters might be role models, but that's why fans get so shocked when like the star themselves does something that is so out of character compared to like what their personal life is about. Like Miley Cyrus. Although I think she went a little above and beyond. Swiping the number 8 spot is Christina Aguilera. Yes, she was on Disney. How can we ever forget that she was one of the members of the Mickey Mouse Club alongside Britney Spears? But she was also one of the first people on Disney to let us know that there could be some drama with your co-stars because you're actually pitted against them oftentimes. Their feud has been the topic of conversation for years, and turns out they were kind of in competition with each other throughout their career, but it all started when they were on Disney. As they started getting older and breaking into their own individual careers, the world seemed to have a problem with Christina and often compared her to Britney. She told Cosmo, "I remember being hurt by these commercials on MTV, pitting Britney as the good girl and me as the bad girl. It's like, if I'm going to be demure and innocent, that's okay, but if I'm going to just be myself, I'm trouble." It's difficult breaking out of that Disney persona for one thing, but doing that while you're being compared to your former co-star is even worse. In spot number 7 is Ashley Tisdale. Speaking of co-star rivalry, I bet you thought everything was peaches and creams on the High School Musical cast. Two characters who seemed to be inseparable were the Evans twins, Ryan and Sharpay Evans. Their sibling duo is iconic in the Disney world, but Ashley let us know that her time on Disney wasn't always what it seemed to be. Apparently, she and Lucas Grabeel, who played her brother Ryan, got off on the wrong foot during the audition process and hated each other because of it. Years down the road, they made a YouTube video together where they did a cover to one of their High School Musical songs, but they spoke about their off-screen drama first. She said, "We were not close, we were not good friends, let's just be honest. It's been 10 years, we can totally talk about this now. We hated each other, like, I'm not kidding." Lucas explained where the animosity came from and said that during their audition, she gave him unsolicited notes which he did not ask for, and it rubbed him the wrong way. Basically, it was just a very Sharpay thing to do. Luckily, now that their time on Disney is well over, they are able to be friends. Up next, number 6 is Vanessa Hudgens. She's always been one to say that her Disney experience on High School Musical has always been a love-hate relationship. Dating her co-star Zac Efron was difficult because all the girl fans were always all over him, and she admitted to getting jealous and insecure about it. Outside of her relationship though, she revealed it was difficult for her to break away from her role as Gabriella when trying to book work outside of Disney. She said she had to put in some serious effort to break the typecast and shed that Disney star stigma. During an interview, she said that Disney, I quote, "closed people's minds up as to which characters I could portray." Luckily, she was able to make it happen, and she's starred in a handful of movies since then, and even Broadway shows, so she did something right. Halfway through our countdown, at number 5 is Ross Lynch. You would know him if you watched the Disney show Austin and Ally, where he took on one of the title characters, Austin. Being in the Disney spotlight throughout his teens, he revealed it was very difficult because people expect you to be the character that they see on TV. He admitted that he got lonely often and said that it was hard for people around him to accept the fact that he wasn't actually his character Austin. He said, "People start to think that because you come from Disney that you're a certain way. You're perceived to be such an angel, and really you're just an actor that booked a job." Ross also said that people on the Disney team would also make it seem like they found him and raised him, but to him it was always just a job and he had a regular life outside of it. Or try to, at least. Coming in hot at number 4 is Brenda Song. Most people who think of Brenda Song immediately think of her iconic Disney character, London Tipton, from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. It's hard to forget a character like that, in my opinion, but that was the problem for her, the typecast once you tried to break away from Disney. When asked if she regrets her time on Disney, she has always said no, but admitted that it was difficult growing up on TV and Disney at that. Similar to Vanessa Hudgens, when auditioning for other work outside of Disney, casting directors had a very hard time not seeing her as London Tipton. She struggled with being able to book roles, and roles that she did book had very similar character traits to her character from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm personally guilty of this because I cannot picture her as anyone else but London Tipton. And when I see her in other movies, I'm like, it's just weird. It's not London Tipton. Taking over our third spot is Zendaya. This Disney star continued to work on Disney even after taking on one of the lead roles in their TV series, Shake It Up. She starred alongside Bella Thorne, and even after it ended, she continued to book some other roles on Disney, like her show Casey Undercover. But her experience with Disney wasn't always easy, and even though she has had some positive things to say about the network, she also said her time on Shake It Up was very difficult at times. She admitted to J14 that during her time filming, she was forced to compete against her co-star Bella Thorne, who was also her close friend. She said, "We were kind of forced to compete against each other. It made the whole first season of the show just very awkward for us." Since then, though, they have become good friends, but Zendaya admits it was never easy feeling like you're being pinned against your co-star, let alone someone who is also your good friend. That would freaking suck. Rolling into number 2 is Kelly Berglund. She starred on Disney show Lab Rats and admits that being on the Disney Channel is an opportunity of a lifetime, but that it does come with its struggles. She talked to Le Pen magazine and admitted that you sort of know what you're signing up for when you step into the Disney world, but that it doesn't make it any easier. She tried to warn other young stars about how hard it is to grow up in that Disney spotlight. She admitted that having your awkward teen years happen in front of the world can be a struggle. She said, "Being a teenager and growing up can already be tough enough as it is. Try having your awkward years put in front of a spotlight for the whole world to see." On top of that, she said she always felt like she was trying to meet other people's expectations, and it made it hard for her to find who she really was at that time. I can't imagine having to live my awkward years in front of the world, because they were bad. Very bad. Winning the number 1 spot is Ali and AJ. Fans were pumped recently when they released an uncensored version of their song Potential Breakup Song, which actually came out back in 2007. Their music career took off while they were under Disney Channel's music label, Hollywood Records, but then they took a massive break from music altogether and then later revealed why. Apparently it was their time under Disney that made them ultimately decide to walk away from their music. During an interview with Playboy magazine, AJ said, "We just lost love a little bit, you know? We had experienced so much as kids, and I kind of feel like we learned a lot about the industry that put a little bit of bad taste in our mouth." Whether it was a couple of people who we worked with, or whether it was just trying to find the right inspiration, or what have you. Fans were not satisfied with her short explanation, and to this day, people still wonder what exactly happened that made them up and leave so abruptly, it seemed. I'm thinking it was some of the people she worked with, but that's just me.